Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, and it is time to begin the 2026 GT New Zealand Championship. 6 rounds ahead of us. We have over 40 drivers across 3 divisions today. Of course, on the broadcast, you'll be focused directly on Division 1. We have 2 races per round. That's 12 challenges all up. We are so looking forward to seeing who is going to become our console champion of the year. Some housekeeping before we get started. Of course, this series presented to you by the New Zealand Sim Racing Collective in association with New Zealand Esports and supported by Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand, Hooncorp E-Sports, TrackSpotTV, NZ Sim Racing TV, and Hectic Motorsport News. A lot of shout outs, a lot of thanks, and a lot of work has gone on to this in the background, and we have got some serious racing ahead. My name is George Cook from TrackSpotTV. I'll be your lead commentator for this series as we head to a number of different locations in GT7, Gran Turismo 7. That's the platform we're racing on. And alongside me, we're going to have Matthew Smith. Matthew, welcome in to the commentary box, mate. This is going to be a series to remember.
Thank you, George. Hello, everyone at home. Isn't it just? We have been building the anticipation for such a long time, and now we have the National Championship. It is the peak of Gran Turismo. It's one of the peaks of sim racing in this country, and we're going to have the top drivers in the country competing for the title and competing for a huge prize as well. I'm super excited to get stuck into this one.
Division 1. 14 drivers. We're going to run you through who is going to be involved and who's going to be fighting for that championship. Of course, race 1, race 2 ahead of us today, and we've got a 10-lap race at Dragon Trail Seaside and a 22-lap race at Interlagos. More on that to come very, very soon. That is the format that we are working with in this series. 2 races per round, 6 rounds overall, and a qualifying session before each race. No reverse top 10s, no nothing like that. We're going to be racing all the way through the next hour. A huge thank you, of course, to our main sponsor, and it's the Real World Drive that is on offer once again here. And previous envisagements of this series, we've had a driver jump into a Toyota GT86 car, and they've gone for some laps, and I mean a few laps around Hampton Downs. First place, of course, going to be bringing themselves all the way to that location and driving a real race car. So it's more time to put sim races in real world cars. Thanks, of course, massive thanks to Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand, once again sponsoring that. And of course, we've also got the Hectic Race Moment. Matt, tell us all about that.
Yeah, I'm excited to bring this one into the series as well. We're going to be promoting some of the best moments of racing that we do get in championships like this. So the biggest saves, the biggest overtakes, we're going to be sharing those, and we're going to be picking our favorite to be the hectic race moment each and every round. And every division is eligible for that as well. So really that is a celebration of the motorsport that we're about to witness.
Exactly right. So let us know in the chat. I can see you all in there. Great to have you all in chat here on NZ Sim Racing TV. Let us know what your hectic race moment is, whether it's race 1 or race 2. Let's take a look at the Division 1 lineup. And of course, there are a number of names here that you should all recognize from the Gran Turismo area within Oceania and certainly within New Zealand. And Matt McEwen is the former champion, of course, of the NZERS, something that was held in previous years, the previous envisagement of this series. He will have Gareth Collier as well from Rotorua, Rhys Davidson from Auckland, Tom England, another GT World Series driver who's represented New Zealand on the world stage from Wellington. Philip Smith joins us from Auckland, Simon Bishop from Dunedin, Amit Biswas from Auckland, and then we've got Lewis Atkinson from Auckland, and then Matthew Budd from Auckland as well. A few Aucklanders here, unfortunately, I think. I get to say that because I'm in Christchurch. Scotty Greenless from Palmerston North. Ben Groves from Queenstown. He participated a couple of years ago as well. Alex Little from somewhere in New Zealand. Olaf Flesch from Levin, and Ben McDonald from Palmerston North. Quite the lineup here, Matt. There are some serious names on the grid, and we're going to talk about one of them right now.
Yeah, how could we not talk about Matthew McEwen and focus on this driver? You mentioned it there, reigning New Zealand champion 2 times. In fact, he managed to do it. But there has been a bit of a gap since we last saw a championship like this held. So that was 2023 and 2024. Haven't seen competitive New Zealand Gran Turismo in the last couple of years. So can he still stand on the top? He's certainly the driver that everyone will be aiming to beat. And he is a driver who has done that switch over into the real world as well, driving that Radical and the Toyota 86 race car after previous wins. So he's definitely one that's got a target on his back this year, and I imagine he's just as much aiming for that prize again in 2026.
Of course, he qualified on top. We had a qualifying round before this series kicked off to determine who would take up the spots in Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3, all being run simultaneously on the same night. The broadcast, of course, only going live for Division 1. The second qualifier overall with Gareth Collier. So Gareth, he's someone who we've met in person a couple of times at live events. He's from Rotorua. Of course, he's known as Dive Cable. And Matt, tell us all about Gareth.
Yeah, Gareth is an exciting driver to watch. I'm really interested in this story because he's a driver that continues to improve and improve. So when we look back at the previous New Zealand series, he came 8th in 2023, improved that to 4th in 2024. He's continued to keep improving while we haven't had these New Zealand championships, and he's come in P2 in the qualifying. And I can tell you, doing some little research beforehand and looking at these drivers during the week, how they've been practicing, Gareth is looking really strong, and he could be one that's going to be fighting McEwen and pushing him to the limit.
It's exciting to see. We've had some really good competition, and based on what we're seeing in practice at the moment, it's going to be very close at the top. Let's take another look, and this is third qualifier in the qualifiers area. So Reese Davidson, 23, Big Head Ted is what he's known as. He loves drifting. He always goes for a drift, and I think these Yaris's in race 1 are going to suit him quite well.
Yes, he certainly loves the softer tyres, or I guess they're harder tyres, the more road tyres, the slipperier tyres. He can handle them. He's an absolute master at drifting, as you say, and he transfers those skills over to rally in Gran Turismo as well, one of the absolute top drivers. And a driver that has been around the New Zealand scene for a long time. A few of the guys who have been involved for many years will remember that tip-top Porsche livery that he famously designed. Looked absolutely beautiful. And I'm excited to see what sort of liveries we see tonight, but I'm also excited to see how quick can Reese be in tonight's format.
Exactly right. And of course, so we're looking forward to letting you guys know what's going to be coming up in the calendar as well. But for now, we're going to focus on round 1. Race 1 will be in the Toyota GR Yaris's. We're going to be starting the qualifying for race 1 in about a minute and a half, but 10 laps around this course. It's a relatively long course. At the end of the day, over 5.2 kilometers, 18 turns at a 38-meter elevation as a really tricky chicane. It's known very, very familiarly as Death Chicane or Death Chicken. It's got a number of names there, Matt. It's going to be tricky. These Yaris's are sideways through there.
Absolutely right. We've put them on those sort of road tires rather than particularly racing tires, and that means, like you say, it is going to be difficult to manage them through the corners. That Death Chicane, definitely a section we're going to be talking about a lot, but also through the S's in the middle sector here at Dragon Trail. It is a handful, and to carry the momentum through there is quite difficult. I think we're going to focus on that because the exit for that section is going to be so critical as well.
Yeah, you got a lovely long run down to the final corner. The final corner, basically a double apex chicane leading you out onto yet another straight. And with these Yaris's, it's all about that exit speed. If you can maintain that as much as possible, then you are in a good situation. The qualifying is just about to get underway. We do have 16 drivers in the grid. 14 drivers in the grid, excuse me. I have to include myself and Matt since we are in there spectating. So we'll be out on track in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. We are about to go to the first round, the qualifying of the official GTNZC GT New Zealand Championship. And this is an exciting one. There's been so much prep got into this over time, and we've got a whole bunch of really cool things lined up for you in the stream. We'll see you over there on track in a few moments' time. Well, here we are out on track. Well, in the pit lane at the moment, the pit lane. Dive Cable currently sitting in the pit lane. A few others out there already. Let's see. He's going to exit now through this long pit lane, and out on track we go. Matt, you mentioned a few of the critical areas that are going to be super important for these drivers to absolutely nail. Even just coming into that first corner, the Yaris's don't really like to slow down.
No, that's right. We're going to be looking at the braking performance of these things, and it's a long braking zone. But what that does mean is they're getting set up for an overtaking opportunity into turn one. Because of that extended braking zone, it's quite a tight corner, and we see Dive Cable go through there slowly at the moment. He might be running into a few issues with the lights flashing on the front of his car, but that's one we're going to be keeping an eye on during the race in particular. In qualifying, hopefully they can manage that nice and safely, but in the race, I think we're going to see some moves going in there. Of course, it is a 10-minute qualifying here, so they're all just getting themselves lined up on this outlap, and hopefully they'll find some space and get their laps together as we progress through.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we do have slipstream enabled for qualifying. No tire wear and no fuel wear for this qualifying session, so we're making it equal, but working together is going to be an advantage out there on track. So expect to see all the drivers wanting to be second, third, fourth in that chain. Clan Fever leading us out on track at the moment. There's the death chicane. Scary as it is, it's even scary in a Yaris. Every time we go through there, I get absolutely petrified with these poor drivers.
Yeah. I actually saw some of these drivers sort of arguing and bragging about whether they could get through the death chicane flat out, or whether they do have to make a lift. So that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because these sports hard tires really have made it a challenge for these drivers. And just a reminder as well that it's an equal class, so we've got balance performance on, tuning is disabled, so they're all in equal machinery. It's just going to be about what driver can make the difference, and maybe part of that little bit of a difference is the slipstream that you were mentioning there as well. Down this long straight, it might get a little bit of a tow. These cars aren't particularly quick, so I can't imagine it's too big, but you know, every little margin, every little extra tenth that you can find could make the difference here tonight.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, here we go into turn 5. This is pretty much a flat-out turn into the right, and then you're going to be on the brakes hard as you hit that red strip on the left-hand side. You can hear the tires, these sports hard tires, absolutely screeching under the weight of that little Yaris, just putting all the kinetic energy into the left-hand side of the car. Down the hill we go into the 7. This is the S's section. We've got 7, 8, 9 here. This is where Sector 2 begins. Looks pretty tidy so far for Clan Fever. He's going to be dragging along a couple of cars behind him, and this will be the first laps that we see from the drivers. Now, once you get through the S's, you're up through turn 10, 11, and that is actually Pure Axel. He's got the slipstream, and he's going for an overtake.
Wow, so that was the critical sector I was talking about. Through those S's, you can lose a lot of time. And when you're getting overtaken on a qualifying lap, it's not a good indication in terms of the lap time there. So that is interesting to see. I've also just been keeping a bit of an eye on the track map, because we can see so many of those drivers bunched up together out on track at the moment. That you know, can give you that slipstream advantage. It can also cause trouble if you're having to try and overtake someone like we just witnessed there. That's usually going to slow you down if you have to go off the racing line. But one driver that's not in this big group is Matthew McEwen. He's found a quiet piece of track, and he is just out there focused on his own driving to try and nail it. Carrying the number 1 on his car, of course, as a past champion, and he's got a little bit of a different thought pattern here in this first qualifying session.
Well, I think we just saw a really good example of why you might not want to be in a slipstream train. We see a first few results come in, and no surprise there, Clan Fever getting pipped by Pure Axel over 57-1 from Simon Bishop. He was using a little bit of slipstream there, but if you do get overtaken, unfortunately, it's going to basically ruin your lap. The idea is to make this challenge qualifying as challenging as possible for the drivers and really start to mix things up. Big head-to-head goes up into second spot with a 57.3, but just over a tenth and a half between him and first position. What can McEwen do across the line? He's a former champion and is one of 3 GT World Series drivers who've represented New Zealand on the world stage across the line, and that is a 56 off the bat. We saw him do it in practice. He's gone and done it immediately.
Yeah, that is unbelievable pace. I can tell you they are a lot quicker than what I was doing in practice. So this is great to see it. And it's actually quite close amongst that top group. So Pure Axel, despite having to make the overtake, still did a nice lap time there to be in P4. And looking at big head Ted. We talked about his skills in drifting and in off-road racing, but he's showing here tonight that he has plenty of skill in the track racing as well. Half a tenth off the lead there and so close. Look at that, 1/10 behind Psydog, on less than a tenth ahead of Gareth. So the first indication of who the competitive drivers are, you know, it's sort of the names we expected to see towards the front.
Yep, it certainly is, and expect this to probably change a little bit. Sector best there for Big Head Ted as he heads through into the chicanes. It's the second one you've got to watch out for. Look at that turn in. It looks decent enough. Yep, and he's really nailed the exit there. Puts a lot of pressure on the front axle, but gets the turn in that he's looking for. And now we get that little wisp of slipstream from the car ahead. So far, I'm not seeing Atom on the timing table, or in the top 8, I should say. Sly Ben.
Funny.
Is right
Funny
there,
you mentioned Adam, sorry. I'm going to jump in because Adam has just become first victim, or maybe the second victim, as I'm seeing a couple of slow drivers, of the death chicane. So Adam tagged to the fence just as you were mentioning his name. He's picked up damage as well. So there's a couple of these drivers really trying to slow down before the last corner because we do have light damage enabled. So it will reset eventually, but you have to wait for that to reset to get a fresh car to go for a flying lap on the next lap.
Wow, there we go. So Atom currently running in P10 as we see Big Head Ted go up into second place. He's the second driver into the 56s, which is really the benchmark at this stage. We only saw a few of those in the practice sessions that have been running over the last few weeks. And there we go. We've got 2 off the bat. The drivers absolutely ready to go and get their laps in as soon as possible. Atom did actually get himself running again, as you mentioned. For those unfamiliar with the Gran Turismo 7 platform, we've got a couple of options. Wow, look at the way that these guys throw the Yaris's into turn 1. I told you, they don't want to slow down, and that's kind of what you got to do. You got to use all the grip. You're not worried about tire life in this qualifying session at all.
No, that's absolutely true. It's a little bit of a different mode that you have to be in right now, isn't it? Because we've got the tire wear turned off. You can just attack the track, maximum push, and then once we do switch over to the race, there'll be a little bit of a different thinking and potentially a little bit slower lap times. We do have tire wear and fuel enabled as well. Adam, really the big driver, the big name that's out of position at the moment. He's got pressure on him as we cross now 7.5 minutes into this session. So not too much longer left to go in the 10-minute qualifying session. And Adam down in 10th. He's going to want this lap to count, and then he might get one more after this to try and go after it and put himself in a better starting spot, because it's going to be frantic into that turn 1 when it comes to race time.
Yeah, here we are in cockpit view, and we've got a few tricks up our sleeve here on the broadcast. It's the best sector 2 there for him, a 117.1, not looking too bad for Atom. And there's one of our little broadcasting tricks right there. That is Tom England in his man cave. It's a fantastic man cave. It's a beautiful man cave. He's got something happening in the background. We're focused on the foreground at the moment. He's set up, and he's a man who is focused and ready to attack this final corner. It's been a great lap so far. Ahead of him, I think that is McEwen. Gets a little bit sideways as he enters, but he's going to have good traction on the exit. Gets the foot down nicely, and let's see what this time is going to be across the line. May not be quite good enough to get him up there into the top 3, with Simon Bishop just on the edge of that 56, and Atom not able to improve at this stage. It's unfortunate for him. We've got one more lap to go as we have 1 minute and 15 seconds left.
And that was a great view, wasn't it, of the focus on Adam's face at the moment. He is locked in. He knows he's under pressure. Now, look at that. He might even be under pressure for someone trying to make an overtake. So he's a little bit down on pace. Potentially has this one last lag. But yeah, great view to seeing how focused he is, trying to drive forward, wants to put the lap together and get himself a good spot. And, you know, it's an important marker, the start of the championship, to try and put the best foot forward here.
It is, but you know, we have a long way to go, and of course there's 2 races for each round. The first race usually going to be a little bit shorter than the second one, so some would say it's not the most critical. Look at the way that McEwen is hooking up turn 1, gets the car's tires solidly impaled on the apex, well, beyond the apex in fact, and that's turning the car quite substantially. He hasn't improved on that previous lap, but this will be his final lap as well. Behind him, Big Head Ted finally finds a gap, so he'll be going for it. 2.5 tenths is what separates them at the moment. Let's see if we can pick up where Atom is. He's just coming through that last couple of corners, so 12 into 13, 14, 15, 16, the chicanes. What will his time be? Critical moments. We've seen Madster up into P9, Supra is in P10, Scar in P12, and oh, big impacts, and that's ruined the lap for Adam.
And that is the Death Chicane. It's got him a second time. Oh, there's a couple of drivers having moments there as they just put everything into that final lap. And that is drama, but it is looking like it might be McEwen who holds on to the lead. Incredibly, Big Head Ted did 2 separate laps that were both in the 56s. So it wasn't a fluke. That was some consistency from himself there. And what a moment at the end of qualifying.
Unbelievable. Right, we'll get the last couple of cars across the grid. Any improvement from Madsen? No. Supra? Neither. Him as well. So we'll get a full set of results up in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be our qualifying for race 1, and we'll be getting soon started into the race. 10 laps ahead of us in a few moments' time once we get these results up on screen. Matt, what are we learning? This is a tricky course, and the Yaris's are powerful machines. Surprisingly tricky to handle, I think.
Tricky to handle, and particularly the way we see some of these drivers aggressively using the curbs, trying to straighten the corner, maybe trying to rotate the car by just flicking them over the inside curbs. I saw it a couple of times at a few different corners as well, particularly that turn 1, that McEwen onboard we saw. He was loose, so I think that's difficult. We've already seen our drivers getting claimed by the Death Chicane, picking up a few there, so they're going to have their wits about them in the race. You know, you can risk it in qualifying because you know you're going to have a chance at another lap, but in the race, that'll really undo your effort. So hopefully, yeah, we're going to see some great action out there. Critically as well, we did see one driver having some technical issues, but they did, it appears, manage to get going and get a time on the board. So hopefully we will have all 14 drivers out there for race number 1 of the championship.
Yeah, this is going to be when we start talking about your racecraft and how these drivers are going to approach this sort of race. Of course, it's ×1 tires, ×1 fuel, which means that the cars reduce their tire wear and their fuel total by the regular amount. As you can see for the upcoming race 2, that'll be cranked up somewhat to 4 times tires and 4 times fuels, and then way to encourage them to use a little bit more of what's available to them. Right, let's take a look now at the full set of results for that qualifying, and then we'll get ourselves over and into the race. And of course, Matt McEwen on pole position with that 56.786. 0.177 the gap to Big Head Ted, who for me at least is a little bit of a surprise up there in P2. Simon Bishop finds himself in 3rd place. Gareth Collier in 4th. Lewis Atkinson in 5th, ahead of Sly Ben the Cat in 6th. The young man doing well to put his car up there in amongst these guys. Scotty Shot You, of course, in P7. P8 to Pure Axel, and then behind them we've got Madster in P9, Supra in P10, Scar in P11. The surprise, I think, for us at the moment is to see Tom England in P12, followed by Crimson and Clan Fever, who was nearly 2 seconds off the pace. I'm guessing it was him that had a few issues out there, Matt.
Yeah, I believe you've nailed that one there. Clan Fever got back on the track, so that is good to see. But Adam down in 12th, he was talking a little bit about how he's been out of practice since last competing. You know, he was actually organizing and hosting the racing series in 2023 and 24. So we owe him a lot, and we're very grateful that he was able to host all of that. And perhaps, you know, having switched sides for a little bit there, he's a little bit out of training and now coming back into the session up against the best in the country. And even though, you know, he's going quick, they make him look slow by comparison.
They certainly do. Right, well, we're going to be getting started in a few moments' time. The grid is set. We are ready to go. 10 laps and race 1 are starting ahead of us in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. It's an exciting opener. The Yaris's at Dragon Trail Seaside. I'll be honest with you, I actually thought it was a little mean from the series organizers to put Dragon Trail Seaside first, but after driving the Yaris's around there myself, I tell you what, they are just absolutely rapid. They are super fun to go and race in. So here we go. We are going to have a false grid. Let's head over. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, false grids will be penalized. Do not lift off that brake, and the lights are about to go on. It's going to be Matt McEwen leading us away ahead of Big Head Ted, Psydog, and Dive Cable, and we're away. Race 1 begins right now. 10 laps ahead of us and a few big movers at the back already. I'm not sure if Clan Fever got away with the start that he needed to, but McEwen certainly has. We are single file as we head into turn 1. Technically turn 1. Turn 2 is what is ahead of us. Will there be a send? Will there be a dive? This might be some of the driver's only chance. Matt McEwen holds on to it beautifully. Big Head Ted slides through and stays in 2nd place. Simon Bishop holding on closely. Dive Cable there. Everyone still in the same positions as they started off. Great beginning to this GT New Zealand Championship.
You love to see it. The National Championship is underway as they navigate the first sector, and the front drivers getting through there nice and cleanly. So it's good that we get underway as the fight is really unraveling into the mid-pack there. Look at that 3-wide racing. These little Yaris's producing enough space on track that they're going to keep going as well into the corner. This is all on in the midfield. Round the outside, they hang it there. This is the sweeping S's section that I thought might slow them down a bit too much if they get side by side, but they're still just going to fight on it. You love to see that attitude. Get amongst it early doors and try and find those spots on the opening lap as things are just settling down a little bit out in front. There's the move we see down into the hairpin though, as it's the Hooncorp up the inside and drifts wide the crossback. It's all on at the start. Beautiful stuff.
Yep, that was Lewis Atkinson. Big dive at turn 12 and now into the dash chicane. You want to be single file through here. You do not want to be too wide. And that's Simon Bishop also making a move on. Big head, Ted, dive cable right behind them at fourth. Hasn't gained a position as yet. Lewis Atkinson might be looking to take a few more as we come up to yet another huge braking zone. Defines this track, these large braking zones. 3 wide again in the background as we see dive cable and I believe that's Sly Bennett. Big head Ted going side by side through the corner that we got right in the last quarter that we're going through, and Lewis Atkinson not able to make that move. Big head Ted holds on to 4th position but down 1. Dive cable moves up. Fastest lap to Matt McEwen on the first lap. We're 1 down. We've got 9 to go. Sly Ben still sitting in there. Scotty's sitting in there as well, looking further back in the grid. Are they still 3 wide? They're not. Madster and Clam Fever and Supra all getting going with these red cars all hanging together on track at the moment. And again, up the top, no moves. Matt McEwen from Simon Bishop, from dive cable, from Big Head Ted.
So lap 1, it was Big Head Ted who lost a couple of positions at the start there and is dropped down from 2nd to 4th. Sidehog and dive cable getting through. We've got a driver, I think, up in the weeds. Madster has gone off and rejoined. Lost a few spots as a result, but he's still on the back of the battle pack. So it's definitely all on in that mid pack. You were talking about those red cars. They are fighting for it and having some moments here on lap number 2 as well.
Whoa, and we're going to have a few more moments as we head through the S's. Big Head Ted now fighting Lewis, who's got a little bit of slipstream and a good run off turn 6. And then we go to this long downhill section towards turn 12. Big Head Ted might be able to make the move on dive cable. It might even be 3 wide in the braking zone, late on the brakes for Lewis, but does keep away from the contact. Down the inside goes Big Head Ted, but dive cable, Gareth Collier playing it sensible, using the outside line there, using the traction and making sure that he's got enough pace to keep Big Head Ted at bay, but they're going to be too wide. Don't do it, lads. We told you before. Here we go. Dive cable moves ahead. Big Ted goes back into 3rd place, and Gareth Collier is in the wall.
And he's gone. The death chicane has claimed its first victim, and it's one of the front runners. That is a disaster. We talked about you were saying it right then. You don't want to go too wide, and that is exactly what unfolds. Costs him the position and costs him a lot of time, dropping down to 8th now as a result of that, trying to get back up to speed. Meanwhile, Sidehog's got into the lead here ahead of McEwen. So was there another moment at the front?
Looks like there was. Simon Bishop has got ahead. Whether he's done that in turn 12, I'm not sure. Maybe McEwen also had a small issue there as well. Nothing that I can see in terms of damage, although by this point it would have worn off, given the way that light damage does repair itself over time on Gran Turismo 7. So keep an eye on that for sure. If we might even be able to get a replay of this. So we're checking it at the moment. So broadcast cameras all going. We'll see if we get a replay up of this. But McEwen in 2nd, Big Head Ted in 3rd position. But look at Lewis Atkinson. He wants a podium today in this first race. It doesn't necessarily mean too much in the overall championship, the first race, but you want to set the tone with your other competitors.
You absolutely do. And if they weren't so close, we would jump to this replay. We'll just keep an eye on if Lewis is going to go for another move here, though. Fighting in 4th at the moment, and this is the sweeping section. This is where you want to try and maintain the momentum. You've got a balance between sliding the car versus just absolutely pushing as fast as you can. Sometimes slow is fast. And that's what they've got to try and remind themselves through that section. Get the exit, because the exit is critical. This long run, and it's a beautiful shot on board just to see exactly what we're talking about. Oh, but he decides not to go for it. So maybe Lewis thinking strategically early, or is he trying to line up the exit? But an interesting decision there. We're getting a little look at the mindset of some of these different drivers.
Yeah, this is good. Now we've got the driver camera up for Lewis Atkinson. As you can see there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And taking his hand off the wheel for a moment there as the Yaris gets itself up to speed, but definitely a tactical choice there to be bumping Big Head Ted. He thinks probably the only chance he's going to have against the McEwens and the Simon Bishops in this series is going to be working with the other competitors, and I think this is a really important thing to note. It's not necessarily something that you can always do in the real world motorsport, but certainly in the sim racing games it's allowed and it's certainly encouraged at this point. If they can work together to get themselves up into a position to put the pressure on McEwen, put the pressure on Simon Bishop, they may be looking at a fantastic result. Sly Bennett does the fastest lap. No, everyone else is doing fastest laps. Pure Axel takes it with a 1:57.7 just after Lewis takes it. He might have even realized that he's smiling on stream at the moment. Simon Bishop still holding on, but this top format is getting ever closer.
Is right, and I wonder if that's what Lewis is thinking. He wants to get closer to the front too. He's not going to be happy with third place. Maybe he wants to use Big Head Ted to help catch up to the leading two drivers and fight for the win of this race, not just third position. And you know, I like that attitude early on. He's backing himself to keep pushing forward. We do actually have a look as well at the moment that cost McEwen the lead, if we want to jump back to that, because we did get to see through that death chicane. We were talking about it, and we can bring up exactly what happened there. So we were talking about how this death chicane should strike. This was a couple of laps ago when McEwen was in the lead of the race. We do have the live picture-in-picture as well to keep track. We won't miss any moments here. But look at this on the exit. Gets a little bit loose and taps the wall there, and that's going to cost him momentum. We were focused on the damage that went further back in the field. But look at that. It lost momentum. Sidog came through and was able to get the lead of the race, and that could be critical as the race progresses.
Certainly could be, yeah. Great to have these replay capability within the Gran Turismo 7 stream here on NZ Sim Racing TV. Of course, primary sponsors being New Zealand Esports and Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand. Of course, massively supported by the New Zealand Sim Racing Collective. Go and check them out. You can type it into Facebook. You can find them on Discord. Go and chuck it into Google, and you will find the New Zealand Sim Racing Collective and, of course, our sponsors. Back at the top here, we're coming up to the end of the fourth lap. Lewis still hunting down that elusive so far third position that Big Head Ted currently owns. Simon Bishop still leads, but look at that gap now. We're down to under 0.3 of a second between him and Matt McEwen, and there is blood in the water here. Matt McEwen is sensing it, and now that we're halfway through the race, I think he might be looking at taking that opportunity at some point reasonably soon. That was an impressive line from Matt McEwen. We do have track cut penalties on. They're set to week, and that was borderline, I think.
I think he's worked out exactly where it is. It's actually one of the things I saw in practice. He did pick up a couple of penalties, so he would have been testing the track limits. Oh, there might have been contact! Big Head Ted too close in behind. Recovery there, but it's cost McEwen a couple of car lengths.
It certainly has. I mean, I think Big Head Ted came into that just a little bit hot, and whoa, he's sideways again. This is what we know Big Head Ted for. He's a man who loves to be away from traction, knows how to use it when he's sideways. So once he finds it, he knows how to counter steer to get himself back on track and do it quickly. See, I can do all of those things, Matt, but I can't do it quickly.
Yeah, remarkably, he didn't actually lose that much time there, did he? We saw him have that big moment through the S's, but he's still right on the back of McEwen there, putting the pressure on. He did the right thing and backed off to make sure there wasn't an overtake when there was that contact there. But now, look at this. This is a fight between 5 different drivers for the lead here. Ben Groves, aka Sly Ben the Cat, is amongst it, in behind his teammate Lewis. So 2 Hooncorp drivers there. How aggressive are they going to be? Second and third on the front of the car, and a move straight away. There comes Ben.
Yep, looks like Lewis Atkinson touched the wall on the left-hand side on the exit of the dash chicane, so that's lost him time. Just what we saw with Matt McEwen, getting a great driver's eye perspective here from Ben Groves. And of course, the 3 cars ahead, Ted, McEwen, and Simon Bishop. No overtake into turn 17 this time, and now down the 0.41 mile, 653 meters straight. Feels a lot longer than that because you've got to take turn 1. Will Lewis look for another overtake? Let's keep an eye on this one. Teammates going at it. That defeats the purpose of a strategy, but a move on the outside by Matt McEwen can't execute it, unfortunately, through turn 1. In the meantime, 4th and 5th position. Lewis seems to have come out on top on that one. Now side by side, Big Head Ted wants to get in the mix. He wants to be more than just third.
Wow, didn't he just capitalize on that move from McEwen? McEwen went for the overtake into turn one. We talked about that being a hot spot for overtakes. He went for it, but it cost him a little bit of time going side by side like that. And Big Head Ted has pounced up into second now. So the reigning championship has been demoted to third position as we're on lap 6. We're past the halfway point in this race. It is just a sprint race here in this race number 1. Not expecting any strategy. There's not enough tyre wear here on the sports hards, and there's not enough fuel consumption. So they are just going to be flat out start to finish. And now McEwen flat out down the straight. Does he have momentum? Did he just lift a little bit there? Because it looked like just lost a little bit of space. And I wonder if he's just lurking, realizing, working out how much extra speed he's getting from the slipstream, thinking about a move later.
It could well be. I mean, we've got to bear in mind that even with times 1 tyre wear, there is a marginal impact. It's really, really slight, but some of these drivers are sensitive enough to these things that it can affect them. Good run there through McEwen and good onboard shots that we've got at the moment. But I don't know, you don't want to bide your time too much. We're on lap 6 of 10. So we're going to be heading onto the 7th lap shortly, and McEwen will need to be making sure that he's attacking Simon Bishop if he wants the win, but Simon getting sideways through 17 does manage to get, as he's doing his best impersonation of Big Head Ted at the moment.
Oh, there's a little bit of that, isn't there? And every time you see it happen, you sort of wonder, is this going to be the time that the car just rotates a little bit too much? But they've all done a good job of catching it and controlling it so far in this race. Bit of sliding, but if it's manageable, then that can be okay. But those front 4 now remaining reasonably close as Ben Groves drops off just a touch, and the battles continue throughout the pack. Look at them ducking and diving, heading into turn number 1. They know that that's a great opportunity to try and get a move done. That was super. Trying to have a look on Puraxo. In fact, Puraxo now up into 7th, so he's coming forward a little bit in this race, and I'm sure we'll have a target now to get towards Scotty as well.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing to call out, of course, is the drivers were invited to use the default livery that was provided. That's the red cars you're seeing out there. They were also invited to produce their own liveries. So the ones that have some nice colors out there, the drivers have actually designed this in-game themselves, or with assistance. Depends a little bit. Depends if they've got a friend who's a graphic artist or not. Mine would be pretty much just a black and white car of some kind, I'm sure. But here we are. We've got driver cams up again, and keep an eye on these liveries. The drivers have done such good work throughout this series to prepare, not just on track, but also to make sure their cars are looking excellent. There's Dive Cable as well, just lurking in the background. HC Atom in 10th spot, and then behind them we've got Crimson. Little three-way battle happening here right at the back of the field. Not quite sure who's in 14th at the moment. That is Scar, unfortunately. So it looks like he's picked up quite a bit of damage and a very worn front left tire at the moment, down in 14th position. Back to the top, and here we go. Big Head Ted under attack. Lewis has managed to get past Matt McEwen. It's on.
Yeah, that was down at the hairpin. He got down the inside of McEwen. McEwen now down into 4th. And he was the driver we were rating coming into this series. It's such a close battle, though, between these front 5, isn't it? There's nothing between them. The margins are so small. You need to nail every single corner. And I think we're seeing anytime someone makes a little half mistake, there's another driver there to dive down the inside and take that position off their hands. And now look, Lewis recovering after that moment a few laps ago, charging 40s already right on the back. Look how close they are through turn number 1. Simon as well. There might have been a little bit of a touch between them because there is just nothing heading down through that section.
Oh, it is brilliant. It is so scary under the brakes in that area. Even through here as well, you get the car launch. You've got to go directly onto that outside apex. Move down the inside for Big Head Ted, and he's tapped Simon Bishop on the side. Not a very clean move there at all. Simon Bishop will still have the advantage being on the inside line, run down through 7, 8, 9 into the S's section, but Big Head Ted, he loves the outside line. He loves to play on the edge of grip, and he's doing that right now. Another tap between the two drivers, and it's Big Head Ted getting sideways yet again on these curbs. They can give you just that little bit of extra turn in if you use it correctly. Otherwise, it'll launch you sideways and force you into more contact. McEwen up ahead of Lewis. It's all kicking off right now on lap 8 as we barrel down into the braking zone at 12.
Oh, and this is the toughest position to be in, isn't it? They're going to go 3 wide. The crossback from Lewis is uncontrollable. Look at him. He might get 2 of them here up the inside now. Who's going to be the bravest in the death chicane, though? Are they going to figure this one out? Because, oh my goodness, it's every corner you look, you can't afford to leave the door open. You can't afford to... to tap that wall. They just about dodge it, but Lewis does get through. He's going to claim second position with Psydog out in front. So close between them all. And a good reminder as well that we do have race stewards in this series, so they will be taking a bit of a look at some of these moves, that big head tig moment earlier. After the race, there will be reviews to make sure that it was all above board. But at the moment, we focus on the racing, and look how close it is between them. I think certainly this slipstream is playing a role in this race.
A massive role. Yeah, we've got long straights. Well, technically not straights. They've got a few corners, a few kinks in them. But Ben Groves now coming into the mix as well. It looks like McEwen at that dash chicane slightly taps the barrier on the left. Here we go. The driver's throwing it in. There's a little bit of praying involved. Well, certainly when I was driving this, there was a lot of praying involved that I would actually make that corner. These guys are absolutely on point. That edge of grip, I don't know how they sense it. Through we go. Big head Ted a little bit slow there, but wants to make sure he's got a chance to slow up before the apex and get a really good run through here. That's what can give you a massive advantage and a nice overlap heading into that downhill section at 11. A personal best for Ben Groves as we head into 7. Now down. This is a tricky one. You've got to slightly hook it on that inside apex, otherwise you're not going to get the overcut that you need. Big head Ted and McEwen going at it again. All this is doing is slowing them up and giving Simon Bishop a big advantage.
And he'll be loving it for Simon Bishop to come back into Gran Turismo and to be fighting at the front. He's another driver who's talked about being out of the seat for a little while now, not maybe being up to practice, but he's been putting the work in the last couple of weeks, getting ready for the series, and it is showing. Stepping up now out in front. He's got a few car links, and that might be enough to hold him over for the next one lap and a few corners that he needs to get to the end of the race. But the race is on behind him as McEwen now gets through into second place. Was he biding his time with one and a quarter laps to go? Does he have enough time to chase down Simon Bishop?
Hopefully he is going to be calculating this correctly, and same for Simon Bishop. All these drivers going to need a real precise last lap of this race. Simon Bishop in the box seat, 0.6 is the gap between them. That's bigger than the gap behind McEwen to Lewis Atkinson for Hooncorp Esports. There's a final lap personal best by McEwen of 57.7. You can see there on the right hand side the blue markers. This is the last chance. We're on the final lap of the race, ladies and gentlemen, for race 1. Remember, we've got our whole qualifying and race 2 coming up for you after this one. And I tell you what, this last lap is going to be quite something. Simon Bishop, it's his to lose as we go now into turn 5.
But doesn't McEwen look so on it, though, on this lap? It's only been a few corners, and look, he is reeling Simon in. He's getting ever closer. Here comes Lewis as well. Is there enough time left to do it? Remember, these cars are all equal performance. We've got balance performance turned on, so you might see some different aero parts on the cars, but they have no effect. It's just about which driver can do the best now. With just a couple of kilometers left to go, Simon is now under pressure.
Here we go. Turn 6 was not good from Simon Bishop. He overcooked it and missed the apex. That's given McEwen a real chance here. Death Chicane going to be telling a big story, but so will turn 12 into the braking zone. Bishop has gone defensive. That's what he needs to do. He's trying to force Matt McEwen into a wider line, and that's going to allow Lewis to cut up under the inside and actually take second place away from McEwen. So that move has actually cost him, and defensive from Simon Bishop means that Lewis Atkinson moves to that second position. Here we go. In sequence, in file, through Dash Chicane for the final time. No mistakes here, ladies and gentlemen. They've gotten through there beautifully. Behind them, Big Ed Ted in 4th with Ben Groves right behind him. Simon Bishop is going to be under attack. He goes defensive again as Lewis Atkinson now brings the action to the outside line of the final corner. Turn 17. There's only 700 meters to go in this race. Simon Bishop has got it, but it's a good run from Lewis Atkinson and Matt McEwen. This could be photo finish right towards the end. Let's keep an eye on it. Here we go. Oh, it's going to be close. Lewis Atkinson. Oh, he's just missed out, but it's so close between the top.
Less than a 10th across the line. They're side by side. What a cracking race. Congratulations to Simon Bishop, hanging on the edge of your seat stuff. Lewis getting ahead of McEwen on that last lap. Opportunistic move to get up there. Big Head Ted comes across the line in 4th, and Ben Groves in 5th. Purex, who actually gaining a few spots in that race, managed to come home in 6th as well. But what a drive from those front 3 in particular. if that is what we're setting up for in this series, we are going to want to tune in to every race, every lap, because that was mega.
That was something very, very special. I had no idea the Yaris's could be this exciting. No wonder they've got performance in their name. An impressive season opener for us here in race 1. We've got race 2 coming up for you at Interlagos, and we'll get some more information on that in a few moments' time. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll get the results up in a few seconds. But that as an opening, wow, what are we in for in the next race? We shall see in a few moments' time. Let's take a little look now at the results. And here we are, of course, Simon Bishop, not with the fastest lap, but with the fastest overall time, 19 minutes, 50 seconds, and 43 milliseconds there. What a race by Simon Bishop, and it's great to see him on the top spot, and great to see the level of competition. This top 5 is absolutely spectacular. Lewis Atkinson comes home in 2nd place, followed by Matt McEwen. I tell you, it all started when he hit Death Chicane exit on the left. His race went downhill from that point. Big Head Ted was in it and takes 4th place overall, with Ben Groves in 5th. Pure Axel was involved in a wonderful battle, actually. We didn't get to see too much of it on stream, but with Scotty, Shot You, and Dive Cable, they had a brilliant battle at the back there. Dive Cable, unfortunately, the first major victim to the Death Chicane, and it cost him, unfortunately, his race. We would have had a 6-way battle at the top, I am sure. Tom England in P9 with Supra rounding out the top 10. Madster, Crimson, and Clan Fever were locked in a battle as well, but Scar, for whatever reason, potentially some issue that he's had with his hardware or his setup, rounds out the grid in 14th and last position. Matt, break it down. We've got so much to come in this round 1, but that first race was something very, very special.
And wasn't it a great drive from Simon Bishop there? He took the opportunity when it was handed to him when McEwen went into the fence, and he didn't look back from that point. He looked so strong driving in the lead. That really is a marker now heading into the rest of the championship, and he was able to defend that position. But a great lap from Lewis, who, you know, we saw kind of bouncing up and down in that race a little bit. 157.5, fastest lap of the race for him, I think, utilizing some of that slipstream as he was doing that bouncing up and down. So I think, you know, we've got a lot of competitors here in with a good shot, which is exactly what we love to see.
Exactly right. Let us know. Did you find a hectic moment? Did you find a race-winning moment? Let us know in chat what your moment was as we get ourselves reset for round 2. There will be a short break, so start pondering that. Go and grab yourselves a good cold beverage of whatever kind it is, and we will see you back here in about 3 or 4 minutes' time to begin qualifying for race 2. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GT New Zealand Championship, supported by New Zealand Esports, Twitter GAZOO Racing, and organised through the NZ Sim Racing Collective, Hooncorp E-Sports, and brought to you by TrackSpotTV to your TV screens out there. Massive thanks, of course, as well to NZ Sim Racing TV and Hectic Motorsport. Matt, what an opening race. Race 1 was extremely exhilarating, 10 laps only though. Now we face another different challenge. We are going to be using the Group 4 cars. So for those who are unfamiliar with the GR reference, it does mean Group 4, so we're talking GT4 spec. This will be the Toyota GR Supra, and we are heading to Interlagos for 22 laps, the 4.3 kilometer circuit, 15 turns, world famous, of course. We've got the likes of Formula One there and a number of other real world series. We'll be heading counterclockwise for this one, and it is a fast flowing and technical course with a lot of elevation changes. So that critical turn 1 entry, turn 2, 3, 4 is going to be absolutely critical. 22 laps, and all the racing compounds are going to be required.
So this one's quite a different sort of a prospect than race number 1, isn't it? We've had the sprint race, the series opener that has lived up to expectations. And now race number 2, we're going to see that strategy with the different tyre compounds going to require at least 2 pit stops. I can't imagine we're going to see more than 2. But where exactly we do those pit stops, what order you choose to use your tyres in, that is going to be critical. That extra tyre wear, extra fuel consumption at 4 times, going to play a big role in the race strategy for race number 2.
Exactly right, and this is where it's going to be critical for the drivers to make some very important choices. That first race was really a pure sprint. There's go as fast as you could, go to the end. We had a 6-way battle. Imagine what we're going to see now that we introduce a little bit of strategy. The other thing, of course, is the 4 times tire wear that's going to be draining those tires of grip rapidly, and the 4 times fuel wear. So note that one. It's not super intuitive, but what it means is that your car is going to get lighter and lighter by some order of magnitude towards the end of the race. And I dare you all out there to have a think about which tires you prefer to be on if you were in a lighter car at the end of the race. Would you take the hards? Would you take the softs for maximum pace? That is what is going to be coming up shortly. We're going to head out on track. Qualifying has just begun, and we'll be meeting you out on track in a few moments' time. Well, welcome back, and of course it is time for our qualifying, so we'll be going to that in a few moments' time. Yes, we are already there. Excellent. That's what we like to see, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, it is Interlagos, and a beautiful track, 4.3 kilometers, as I mentioned before. And I'll be honest with you, Matt, GT4 racing is an absolute favorite of mine.
Oh, isn't it great fun? And I have to say as well, though, the difficulty of switching between categories. You might enjoy this car, but you've got to sort of make that mental jump after just driving the Yaris. Now jumping into these Supras, like you say, GT4s, they're a bit more race spec. We've got a bit more grip, of course, with those race tires as well. So that transition here in qualifying, and in the sort of few minutes of practice laps that they were able to do in the break, is really difficult to do, and it's going to be a key feature in this championship, making the jumps.
Certainly will be. You've got currently out there Supra leading the way. Now, you might just be able to tell by his name. I don't know if you can tell. He might be a bit of a fan of these Supras. We've seen him drive the GT3s. We've seen him drive the GT4s. We've seen him drive every kind of Supra that you can possibly find out there. He might even have one in real life, or certainly saving for one. I wouldn't be putting it past him at all. So this man right here will be absolutely loving it if he can get himself a win. He's been showing some serious pace within the scope of practice. So will Supra be able to do it? Of course, this is Mr. Biswas, and a name that we recognize, Matt. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely is, and I can confirm he does have a Supra that he drives out as a daily driver. So, you know, he loves these cars, he loves this format, and I wonder if he'll be able to put it together now in the Supra. 10 minutes of qualifying, of course, before we get going. So all that race chat the strategy chat that we were just getting into, we'll just park that for a moment. They've all switched on to the racing soft tires, and now it's all just flat out. See if you can set that fastest lap. A little bit of risk to it. You know, you can send it because you can afford to make a mistake, and then go again on the next one. Supra, the first one out of the box, so he's the first one who is going to come around this final corner and set the benchmark for the rest of the drivers to chase.
Yeah, the world famous turn 12, and of course this leads you all the way up the hill. All not quite as clean as Supra would have been wanting. The Biswas won't be happy with that exit at all. It's going to compromise them all the way up the hill. Of course, with that uphill direction, it means you need to be maximizing your speed through turn 12. You see the number of Formula One drivers get that wrong, and they just go, right, well, that's it. The lap's over. We're going to be moving on to the next one. 39.1 is the first time that we're going to see on the board. And a 40 from Clam Fever. So actually that 39.120 is looking extra good right now. Atom goes third, and Dive Cable takes it away from them. Simon Bishop takes it away from them with a 38.770. That's an excellent starting lap. And Dive Cable, Gareth Collier, finds himself in P2, not 68 hundredths away. Oh, there's a parked car sitting right in the middle of our camera shot. I haven't seen that before.
Tell you one thing that's interesting. Matthew McEwen has again waited to go last in qualifying, and he sets the fastest lap there. Look at that. He has such a gap. You can see on the mini-map, he is the last driver out there. Everyone else close together, maybe thinking about trying to get a little bit of slipstream. Matthew McEwen's not playing that game. He's going out there on his own, finding his own space, and using it to his advantage, it looks like, because that is a quick first lap in qualifying.
Yeah, I do believe that is the case. I did speculate earlier on, given that Matt McEwen is the incumbent champion of the former NZERS that was run in previous years. Whoa, gets very loose through 4 and 5. But I was speculating that maybe no one wanted to give him a slipstream and didn't want to be out on track with him. But he's proving that he can do it without the slipstream and without needing to work with anyone as well. So does make these qualifying runs by Matt McEwen all that more impressive. That's very close through turn 7 to being out of bounds, and it is actually, so there we go. It's one of the first penalties we've seen in qualifying, and it's so easy. 1 pixel, ladies and gentlemen. You can do it with a white line over in real motorsport, but I tell you, if you do that by 1 pixel in real world in sim racing, you will find yourself in all sorts of trouble. So just noting there that the drivers can jump back to pits. They are allowed to do that within this qualifying session, as Simon Bishop with a little whiff of slipstream, I believe there, does a 38.5, takes the top spot.
Absolutely flying, and I think what we just saw with McEwen is just how much they are pushing to the limit to try and find everything they can. He knows that this fight is on. Simon Bishop is up for it. Ben Groves is up for it. Dive Cable was up for it. You know, there's so many competitors here who are close. He needs to find those margins and find that little bit of extra space. He pushed it a little bit too far that time, and that might cost him as he had to reset, and so he has to do another out lap. That's not going to count, of course, and then go for the quick lap. So that costs McEwen a lot of time here in qualifying, but we saw, you know, he only needed 1 lap to set that 38.6. So he's a driver who's absolute class, and he'll be locked in, focusing, ready to go for his next fast lap. But one driver I am keeping an eye on as well, down the order a bit, Lewis. So quick in the first race. He's currently down in 12th, 1.2 seconds off the pace. So a little bit further back than what we perhaps would expect him to be. And maybe it's a different car combo costing him. He's actually just pulled off this lap. There you go. He's just slowed down there. So he's resetting to try and go on the next lap. And that might be unfortunate. Or was that his teammate, sorry, that we just saw pull over? But
I believe that was Atom was pulling over to let a little bit of traffic through. But it makes me wonder, I think the Hooncorp guys might just be working together, or certainly Lewis currently running ahead of Sly Ben, so Ben Groves, and that's not the line you want to take, Lewis. Unfortunately, that is going to cost you, and he's on a setup lap as well, so that's really going to cost him. And now with only about 3 minutes remaining in this, has he got any visible signs of disappointment? Not so far. He's chewing that chewing gum and making sure that he's in a nice bit of focus zone, but he'll reset for this one. Does put in a 39.6, but not enough to elevate him up the track at all so far. Right now, Slide Ben the Cat actually feeling like he's in a really good situation at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, he is. He's looking strong, and he was in that fight in the first race, of course, wasn't he? Now that we switch cars, perhaps favoring these Group 4 cars a little bit better. And let me tell you, they drive completely different to a Yaris. Can really be aggressive on the brakes, aggressive on the throttle you saw on the exit there. He's really wrestling that car through the corners. Only 2/10 off the fastest time at the moment. It's so tight at the top, isn't it? So really, so that little moment we just seen there might have been enough to cost him a spot. That's how tight it is.
It may well be. Well, we're coming up to 2 minutes remaining. Luckily, it's a slightly shorter lap, so a couple of laps remaining for most of the drivers. Ben Groves, of course, young man, I believe he's still in his teenage years. He's been involved in hill climbs, 86 racing, and a number of other real-world motorsports events. Is a very talented young man. Got to meet him and his father at previous live finals events that we had in Wellington. Into the first braking zone we go. Does miss the apex slightly. That'll frustrate the young man, but he's only 72 hundredths away from second place, so he can wrangle that back from sector 2 and sector 3. Now through the exit of 3 and onto this long back straight. I think that switch between the Yaris's and GT4 cars is seriously difficult. Matt, take it over. Into turn 4 we go.
Into turn 4, and I'm just watching the driver cam at the moment because it's real interesting to see how much he's wrestling that car. It's not just a smooth turn in. He's really fighting to find the grip through the corners, find the balance of what he can get away with. As we go into the right-hander, fast one. This one's looking nice and smooth. We'll keep an eye on it into these hairpins. Big braking zones here. Turn the steering hard to get it in there. And now through this middle section as he's just smoothing things out, but the car gets loose. So he's really on the limit of what he can get away with. Is it the quickest way to drive the car though? Unsure. Certainly these drivers know a bit more about that than I do. As they're then now into the next hairpin, using a lot of curb on the inside there. You can get away with that. Nice suspensions here on the Supra, with just a couple of corners left to go. At this point, you're looking at your markers. Are you up on your own personal times? Are you down? How much are you going to send it through that final corner? Try and get the exit right. We've seen a couple of mistakes there already in qualifying. Gets the run, gets the power down, and now it's just flat out to cross the finish line and see what time you get at the end of it.
Yeah, I think this one, I get the feeling that maybe he was backing off through that. It looked like he'd widened up the last turn, but nonetheless, let's see what kind of time he's able to do. It's a 42, so this will be his last lap, 10 seconds to the end of the session, so we will check in with the other guys around the track as well. McEwen still on a lap at the moment, just coming around. Will he actually reach the end? No, he's actually this is going to be his last lap here for Matt McEwen, currently in second place through across that green strip. Looking good for a solid time, but oh, it's not quite enough, and that's going to be Matt McEwen currently behind Simon Bishop, who's coming up to his final part of this qualifying. Don't know quite who that's behind. I think that might be Dive Cable in behind as well. No, it's not. He's coming through the final corner now. Will it be an improvement from Simon Bishop? It's a 38.5 of his own that he's got to beat if he wants to increase that gap and maybe take away a chance from other drivers on the grid. No, does not improve on this lap. Ben is going to be making his way through the final few corners. Let's check in with Dive Cable. There he is coming through the final corner. Gareth Collier and this GT4 Supra. Will it be an improvement on this lap? We haven't had a good idea as to what his sector times are for this final lap. Power down. Heads up towards 200 kilometers per hour, barreling now towards this start line. Will it be good enough to get himself in the top 3? Not quite enough, unfortunately. Big Head Ted has finished. Atom has finished. The rest of the grid all done now. So that is going to be it. I think we've got Madsta still out there. No, he's done as well. Scar gets a good lap up into P10. Lewis is the real surprise there. P12 for Lewis Atkinson.
And he just couldn't get that one together. I saw him bailing out on that last lap. Couldn't quite find the time. Look at that, 1.1 seconds off the lead. And after such a strong performance in race 1, this is the risk of this format. You need to be prepared for both combos coming into the round. So you need to be practicing. He looked so strong in race 1. Race 2, not having the pace, down in 12th, and that's the real upset from that qualifying session.
Yeah, certainly is. Well, we've got 22 laps ahead of us. All the tyres are going to be required. Will they start on the mediums, the softs, or the hards? And Matt, what are we thinking? I mean, we're about to pull up the results in a few moments' time, but I think, honestly, it's going to be a really tricky one for us to call. There's going to be so many strategies, 14 drivers, 14 strategies.
Yeah, you might be right. It might just be that varied. There could be a little bit of fuel saving. There could be a little bit of tire saving as well. So it's not just about pure pace. It's about management of the race. And by my calculations, we've got about 15 to 17 laps of fuel. And the soft tires will last about 7 to 10 laps. So that's quite a short stint that they might end up doing there. And that sort of opens the strategy decisions up. What are you going to start on? Do you want to, if you're starting at the front, are you going to start on a different tire than the driver starting at the back? A lot of decisions to be made, but Psydog in the box seat to be making such decisions.
Certainly is. Beside him will be Matt McEwen, then Ben Groves will be lining up alongside Gareth Collier with Supra in 5th place, followed by Big Head Ted. Atom has a much better qualifying in the GD4 cars on the same side of the grid as Pure Axel. Then it'll be Madster in P9, followed by Scar in P10. Then, of course, on the 6th row of the grid, we'll have Scotty Shot and Lewis Atkinson. And the 7th row of the grid will be Crimson and Clan Fever. This is set to be an exciting one, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to introduce a lot of extra strategy that we haven't seen so far. And I think, Matt, you touched on it there for a brief moment. Fuel and refueling the car is also going to be playing a factor within this one.
Absolutely right. It's, you know, they don't have enough fuel to get to the end is the long and the short of it. Unless they... And we know that they have to come in for 2 stops anyway to change those tires. So how you distribute that fuel use, or whether you try and save some fuel to have a shorter pit stop, it does refuel at 7 litres a second here in this race. So, you know, if you end up saving 5 litres, that's most of a second. And we saw just how close the previous race was. So those sort of margins could make a big difference when we get to the end of those 22 laps.
It certainly could. Well, we're being told the grid is being assembled right now. So a few seconds ago, and we'll be heading into our second race of the evening. I love this format. 12 challenges overall for across 6 rounds of racing. You've got to love how this event has been sorted out. Of course, false grid start will be in order once again. Let's head to track. Who's going to be on what tire? We're hearing that there's a mix within the grid. Looks like potentially mediums at the start. 3 lights are on, 4 lights, 5 lights, and 22 laps. Starts right now. Great start from Simon Bishop. He's off well. McEwen's off well as well. And that's going to be, I think that was HT Atom. It was Tom England getting a great run there. He's up a position already into the first corner. And look at Ben Groves. He wants that outside line. Can be risky. Bit of contact there between Big Head Ted. And I think that was Pure Axel. They're starting to lose positions now as a result of that. A great start for Bishop and for Matt McEwen. Slide Ben tried it, but he's going to have now Gareth Collier for company into turn 4. Not going to be a comfortable start for him. Look at the dive from Dive Cable. He's a man familiar with low pressure scenarios. In this case, it's going to be a high pressure scenario for Ben Groves to deal with. Great livery as well on Gareth's car, and I believe he is on the racing mediums to start off with. This mix of strategy going to create a lot of overtaking opportunities that have to be taken early on for your strategy to eventuate. There's the move again, and into 7 we go, into 8, and Dive Cable's going to have just a little bit of overlap, but there's contact between the two.
Oh, it's all on, isn't it? I was just having a look as well because Adams moved up to 5th, but he has picked up a penalty in the meantime. And these moments happening here. Look, there he is. They're still fighting away with Big Head Ted. He's got a half second though, and look how close the cars are in behind him. That's going to cost him a lot here to pick up that penalty on lap number 1. He's racing around on the racing medium, so most of these drivers have chosen to start on the medium. So we do have a couple of hard runners out there, and I think that's maybe what's mixing things up a little bit, is those guys on the hard tires trying to get the tires up to temperature, trying to get up to speed, just holding up the cars in front just a little bit. Well, the car's trying to get in front a little bit, and look at that, Adam on the brakes for half a second. That's how the penalty system works in Gran Turismo 7. So it slams on the brakes automatically, and that slows you down and lets all these cars come past, and that has cost him early doors in this one.
Wow, there we go. Yeah, the penalty system can be brutal in Gran Turismo 7, but that is how the game is situated. Wow, that's wide there from Big Head Ted. And Pure Axel trying now around the outside to regain that position that he's attempted to take. They're going to be nearly 3 wide. No, 2 wide for now as Supra makes a bit of a progress up the inside line and moves up into 4th position. Scotty Shot going for the 3 wide. He's deep on the brakes. Will there be contact between them? There's not. And Scotty Shot manages to make it through into 5th. This is the battle pack to be reckoned with right now. There's 6 cars involved in it as we stand in the top 3. Starting to run away with it, Simon Bishop, Matt McEwen from Dive Cable, and looks like Ben Groves has jumped into the pits. He started on the hard tires. He wanted to do 1 lap total on them. Wow, that's a car going sideways. This is hard to keep up with at this point. So Ben Groves going for the alternate strategy, says, I want the clean air. I don't want to be in this battle pack right now. As, oh, we've got contact behind. Scar's involved in that. He's got a penalty. Pure Axel's been sent down to P10. He's managed to pick the car up somehow. I have no idea how. He was sideways through the exit of turn 9 into 10. He's regained it all. So keep a very close eye. There's Clan Fever. Looks like he's going for the similar strategy. Ben Groves at the back. Now he's going to go to the medium tire. So this is a strategy map. We've seen this a lot in Gran Turismo lobbies, in the GT World Series. You want to be on that hard compound tire for as little time as possible.
Yeah, absolutely right. There were those 3 drivers there who just did the 1 lap on the hard tyres to start the race, came into the pits. Ben Groves was the leading one. He was in 4th when he came in, and I wonder if that's intentional to try and find some space. Rather than getting caught up in this battle pack that we were seeing, these guys slowing each other down. Look at that. Look how far back 4th place is, away from these front 3 already. And I think Ben Groves has just made the decision, get out of the fight, go find some clear track by taking that pit stop early. Now they're on the medium, so now they're on the same tyres as the rest of the grid. They should be setting similar lap times, and it will all come back to them towards the end of the race when these other drivers have to take their hard tyres.
This is starting to evolve into quite the fight. That's Tom England making a move on Supra up into P6. But look, Lewis Atkinson is right there with them. So I believe they're all medium runners at this point. And just to go back to that exact point you were making, Matt, I mean, that's my strategy. I don't want to be on that hard tyre any longer than I need to be. And generally, if I have that clear running air in front of me, I feel a lot better about myself as a driver because I'm not making so many mistakes and getting caught up in battles at the whim of everyone else. But I'll tell you what, the driving standards have been excellent. I wouldn't mind being at the whim of some of these drivers. They are excellent at their racecraft, and so far, the racing has been extremely clean.
Oh, it's great to see, isn't it? And it's interesting, there's kind of 2 schools of thought there, isn't there? Because you might want to have the clear space so that you're not getting caught up in battles. You also might want to just tuck in behind a driver who's maybe a little bit quicker than you, follow them around the track, and that might actually help you focus and help you stay on target. So I think some drivers might prefer it different ways, but at the moment, if we go to the lead battle, because I think McEwen is currently tucked in behind Simon Bishop and actually going for the move potentially into turn number 1, sort of a half move. It's really hard to get it done around the outside there, but McEwen just making life difficult for Bishop in the lead of this race.
Yeah, that's actually a really smart move. We see this in F1 all the time. You go to the high line, try and force your opponent to be defensive and go deep into that first part of turn 1. And then as you get to turn 2, you're essentially slingshotting yourself through turn 3 because you'll be able to get onto that power so much earlier. But of course, you do have a little bit of a risk there. You don't want to be going too deep into turn 1, and it will cost you a little bit of tire life as well. But that said, it'll cost Simon Bishop a little bit of tire life too. Gareth Collier, though, look at him lurking in the background here. He's a man with a mission, and he wants to get up onto those top 2 spots and displace these 2 have been so dominant in the world of sim racing, certainly on console platforms within Australia and New Zealand and the world. So Dive Cable, gonna be someone we need to keep a very, very close eye on. He's on the racing mediums as well.
Of course, after that disappointment in race number 1 in the death chicane, to now be coming and doing it, put that out of his mind, focus forward, because we know he's capable of racing up here, and he looks quick at this phase of the race, doesn't he? The tyre wear will just be starting to creep in now. They'll be edging off a little bit, trying to just conserve, and maybe that's what these guys will try and do, tuck into the slipstream, see if they can get any benefit out of that through this phase of the race, because we're expecting the medium tyres to be used for the longest phase in this race, and then they'll try and slap on those soft tyres and sprint towards the end. And of course, the hard tyres, we've seen the indication already that they want to use that the least amount of time possible. Those, of course, being the slowest tyres. You don't want to be on those if you can avoid it. But Gareth here tucked in behind a little bit wide through turn number 1, and maybe that's just a little bit of to and froing. This is what I was talking about. You're tucked in behind a driver that's maybe a little bit quicker than you. You can start to learn those lines, start to learn those braking points, pick up that and improve as the race goes, and then capitalize later on, hopefully.
Yeah, this is the point of the race where I like to call it the tapestry. It starts to unweave itself as all the different strategies and the different tactics being employed by the drivers. Some will be on the same tires as others, but employing a saving strategy rather than a push strategy. And here we go. There is Gareth Collier on the screen right now. Dive Cable himself and looking focused as anything. Great rig he's got there, by the way. It's one of the Logitech G rigs with the special wheel. I do not have that special wheel, so I'm already getting very, very jealous a lot of these drivers' setups. They are so cool, and it's so cool to see us with a couple of driver cameras being able to brought up. You can see there's a little battle starting to evolve back there around where HC Lewis and HC Atom are in 7th and 8th. But at the moment, I'm so keen to see if Dive Cable has got the pace to really start pushing these guys along at the moment. All three in the top three on the medium tire at the moment. We're on the 5th lap of this race, shortly about to start the 6th. And let's just have a quick look down into turn 1 for Dive Cable. Is there a potential move here, or is he going to be playing the long game?
I was just having a bit of a look through the field as well. I think Scar's just had a moment and ended up going off, but he's been able to rejoin. But that battle pack has been raging. Lewis has gotten past his teammate Adam and now into 7th. So Lewis is coming forward after that poor qualifying performance. There he is on screen in the Hooncorp livery, number 2 on the side of the car. And he seems to be dialed in now. Maybe just took a little bit longer than some of the other drivers to get settled. And once he has, he's kept it moving.
He has indeed. So down the long straight we go once again into turn 4. This is such a tricky braking zone for many people. You're sort of trail braking all the way through it and just hoping, well, I'm hoping, I'm sort of putting my own perspective of it onto the drivers here. They're probably not hoping quite as much, but they're certainly looking to make sure they don't run too far to the right hand of that 4-5 exit point, because if they do, that's going to be penalty territory, and we do often see that in lobbies from time and again. They find themselves really getting awry of that section of the track. So there's Big Head Ted, followed by Supra, followed by Lewis. This is the battle for P5 at the moment. Scotty shot you. Impressive work from him. He's in 4th and all by himself at the moment.
Yeah, that's a great drive. I mean, the competition in this field is extremely strong. Just a last note on Lewis that we were looking at. He has actually been doing well saving fuel a little bit in this race as well. So he's been pushing forward, but he's also just saving a little bit more fuel than the drivers around him. And that might help him just have sort of half a second, maybe a second quicker pit stop when they do get to it.
Exactly. So let's talk about fuel saving strategies. There's the old lift and coast. What other techniques do we have within the scope of GT7 that allows the drivers to save that little bit of fuel?
Yeah, one of the ones we use in Gran Turismo is the short shift. So if you're changing gears earlier than you normally would, keeping the revs a little bit lower, that'll help you save a bit of fuel as well. But then, as you say, that lift and coast will help you. And particularly if you manage to tuck into a slipstream, you can really maximize that lift and coast. And if you pick the right places to do it around the track, hopefully you won't lose too much time either.
Yeah, exactly right. So these are critical techniques that all these drivers will be aware of, and they're going to use this to the absolute maximum. The more time they can, well, the less time they can spend in the pit stop when they need to put a little bit of splash of fuel in the car, the better for their overall race. And even on lap 7 right now, you can just tell there's a calming down. Everyone's getting into position. They're holding fire. They're executing their race strategy. This is very typical of this part of a 22-lap race. And into Lagos, you got to be looking after those tires as much as possible, especially through corners like this. You're going to absolutely burn things out if you put too much lock into the cars. Up ahead, Scotty is being caught by Big Head Ted and Supra. So this is rapidly going to become a battle for that 4th place position as we now go and have a look. And he's gone very, very deep. He's come back on the track, and Big Head Ted up into that great position. Now, this may be why Scotty has been in a good situation. He's on the racing soft tires, but Matt, we're getting the telemetry. Some of those tires are not looking particularly good.
That's absolutely right. This is the point. I was talking about 7 to 10 laps, and Scotty has just used them all up in 7 laps. He's going to come into the pits because he needs to get rid of them, and I think that's maybe an indication for the rest of the field as well. They'll be keeping an eye on who comes into the pits when. They'll see the same graphic that we see on the leaderboard there with the soft tires. Scotty's coming in after 7 laps of racing on the soft tires, and he hasn't looked after them too well, and that's why he's come in early. So that's maybe an indication. The other drivers keep that in mind. Do they need to go until lap 16, till lap 15 maybe, do 7 laps on the softs and then 1 lap on the hard tires? Or, you know, do you stick to your original plan? I'm sure all these drivers would have done some practice, worked out what they think the optimal strategy is going to be, have that in mind. So do you stick to that, or do you adapt when you do see a moment like that from one of the other drivers?
Well, I think at very least you've got to note the lap that's happened on, and gives you an idea of maybe how you're going to progress in this race. I mean, the driver's been aware of what's been going on in terms of the setup, so they'll have practiced these combinations. Just noting here as well, Atom, I just caught it before it got repaired, but he had some damage on the rear part of the car, the diffuser, and the left-hand side of the car. He had picked up damage, so he's still on the racing mediums, but I think he's lost quite a few positions, about, well, 3 or 4 positions at least in this race. So that's not going quite his way. I think Scar had a similar problem. He's on the racing softs and probably going to be in the pits at the end of this lap. Crimson on the racing mediums in 8th position now, so he's going to be working his way up, and this is when you can start to take real advantage of others' mistakes and small things happening around the track.
Absolutely right, and it's a real battle to try and be conservative as a race driver, right? You want to keep pushing forward, driving as fast as you can, making overtakes, but you need to have in your mind that you just need to balance that between having a little bit of conservation and thinking about the long-term benefit, getting towards the end of the race and having the best pace then. So, you know, they would have done the practice and thought about it and worked away at it, but it can just be so tempting when you're in the moment, the heat of the battle, particularly when there's another car close. You really just want to send it, and that might be what we saw there from Scotty when he did come in with that absolutely destroyed front right tyre, I can tell you, and that's what brought him in the end.
Exactly. Well, once your tire reaches a certain threshold, you basically don't have a tire anymore. And it sounds like the obvious in what I'm saying right now, but I tell you, in Gran Turismo, once you do get that tire down to nothing, the car doesn't want to turn. I think in this particular case, it was the right front of Scotty Greenless's car that was ineffective at that point. So anytime he took a left-hand corner, it wouldn't have been great. And anytime he took a right-hand corner, he would have been in trouble as well. But it's an awkwardly large effect on the car once you really burn out a tire like that.
Absolutely right, and that's sort of, you know, the drop off. We talk about it in motorsport, right? The cliff that the tires go over. It's not quite the same dynamic in Gran Turismo, but you definitely feel when you hit that point and the tire just completely loses speed, you're going to end up really slow, and you do need to come into the pits. You're much better off being on a medium tire at that point than you are trying to race around on a worn out soft tire.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, we are coming up to half race distance. We're on the 10th lap of the race, so probably about a lap and a bit to go. So a quick update around the field. It is Simon Bishop from Matt McEwen, from Gareth Collier, from Supra, who's leading the battle pack against Lewis Atkinson and Pure Axel. So keep that in mind as we head towards this. Now, the other thing to mention as well, of course, is that we are now under variable weather conditions. So it is cloudy out there. We've got a 1 times variable limit, so the weather will change as if it's real time on the circuit. That can be cranked up to all sorts of values to provide some really dynamic weather situations. No rain is forecast at this point, but those cloudy conditions probably helping the tire life just a little bit for these drivers, and we may see a few combos later in the season where that is going to exacerbate things, let's put it that way. So of course on 20th of July, 1 week from now, we'll be heading to our second round of the GT New Zealand Championship, and we'll be going to the Montreal GP circuit and Red Bull Ring. A week after that, we're heading to Spa and Alsace, and that's a lovely French destination that we're going to be going to, as we see Simon Bishop now pop up on screen. On the 3rd of August for round 4, we're going to be going to Le Mans in the Toyota GR010 hypercar, followed by Daytona as well on the 3rd of August. In round 5 on the 10th of August, we'll be going to the legendary circuit of Bathurst and Fuji Speedway. And the final round, we'll be heading to Deep Forest and the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. That is a calendar, I would say. And of course, you've got to bear in mind, we keep repeating it, 6 rounds, but 12 challenges. Different car combinations, different settings for all 12 challenges across all 6 rounds. I see there's a lot going on track. We've got Simon Bishop and Matt McEwen closing up, and I can also see a battle starting to really brew for 5th position. Isn't that right?
Absolutely right. The battle in the mid-pack has been going on for most of this race, really. There's always someone fighting someone else, but that race at the front, isn't it so good? Seeing the top drivers in New Zealand just fighting, and you could see the concentration on Simon's face. It almost looked like he was holding his breath through some of those corners. He knows how close it is. And those two drivers know each other very well. They've been racing each other a long time. So they'll be fighting hard and they'll be fighting fair, I'm sure, but leaving no room and absolutely pushing to the max.
Yeah, it's good. It's almost like a sniper looking down the barrel. Oh, Big Head Ted gets into the back of Lewis and sends him flying through the corner at a speed that he probably wasn't expected to be sent through. Big Head Ted looking quick at this point, and has he come in for a pit stop? He hasn't. So we've got medium runners again, all battling it out halfway through this race, and the pit stops will be absolutely critical. How much fuel have you saved relative to the others? Big Head Ted has saved... Well, no, actually the opposite. Lewis has saved a huge amount of fuel compared to Big Head Ted. So this is where the discrepancies are. But at 7 liters a second, I tell you, it's a quick, cheap fuel stop, isn't it?
Yeah, it is reasonably quick. So it's not, so the priority is not saving fuel, but it is a bonus if you can do it. It definitely will help you gain some time in that pit stop, and you'll be able to move forward if you do save it more, because we are just looking at a little bit of extra telemetry that we're not showing on the broadcast. That's why we were able to read out these fuel numbers, and that's why we're saying Lewis is looking up, and with the drivers so close in front of him, I think he could be able to jump a couple of positions in the pit stop here.
Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. I'm not quite sure when we're going to be heading to these pit stops, but what are we guessing? Sort of maybe 6 to 8 laps until we see the medium runners really think that they should come in?
Yeah, this is the question, isn't it? Who's going to be the bravest and come in early and really trying to conserve on those soft tires? I think if you're gentle with them, you might be able to make them last. What are we getting to now? 10 laps to go. So those drivers that do have to do the hard tire as well, you have to factor in that they're going to have 1 lap on hard. So can you get away with 9 laps on the soft tire? You will have to be gentle, which means you probably will be a little bit slower if you go for that strategy. But when the drivers are this close, you got to weigh that up with the undercut as well. Do you want to try and get the track position to get ahead, and then just baby those tires through those 9 laps? It is going to be a question. We saw 7 laps from Scotty, and they were absolutely destroyed. So that's probably sort of the standard strategy, I would say, was about that 7-lap mark. But one of these guys might opt to risk it a little bit earlier.
And this is what we see from the top level competitors in Gran Turismo 7, not only in New Zealand, but in Oceania and the world. It's these kinds of on-the-fly strategy calls that you have to make. I think, Matt, you probably were watching the GD World Series recently, as I was last year, and boy, oh boy, there was some impressive decision-making that had to be made on the fly, and some of those strategy calls were absolutely critical to the end result of the race. Big Head Ted, though, I don't think he's a man that really cares about his tires. I think he knows how to make them go fast if they're on the red, or if they've got a little bit of white left on them.
Absolutely right. I think he'll utilize his drifting skills if he has to. But of course, you don't want to get the car sideways, because that's just going to double your problem. It's going to wear the tires out even more and make it harder on the next lap. But look at how much he's still using the track. I can see the tire wear now is really starting to ramp up. They'll really be feeling it. But he's still just pushing that car to the absolute limit, out wide. And it's great shots that we do get in Gran Turismo to show us that perspective. Oh, a little bit of a drone shot above as well. It was looking pretty fly. But again, look at that. He's just touching the dirt on the inside, touching the Astro on the outside. He is still really wringing the neck out of that Supra at the moment.
It's very impressive driving. And of course, these GT4 cars, they've got plenty of aero that you can lean on, but I tell you what, you don't want to lean on it too much. The tires are going to take a beating regardless of what you do. Now, back out the front, a big race update. McEwen within spitting distance now of Simon Bishop, who has been leading more or less from the start of this race. A great qualifying effort for him to get himself up into this position. We did see that really impressive 5-way battle through the Yaris's, but that is not quite eventuated as yet through this second race of round 1. Dive cable has fallen off the back of these guys for the moment, and checking in on him, yeah, tire wear is not looking great for all top 3. Although I have to admit, Simon Bishop doing a very, very good job, probably why he's able to keep Matt McEwen behind him. But we come back to it yet again. How do we approach this race strategy? These guys are thinking at a different level to most of us, and they know when to back off. They know when to get themselves into the pit lane. And speaking of which, Supra decides it's time.
There we go, the first one to blink. Supra coming in from P8, and he's going to come out. Whoa, it's actually a strategy decision still though, isn't it? Because is he going to come out on the hard tires, do one lap on the hards, and then go to the softs? Or does he want to use that softs, try and get the benefit from it with the undercut, and come back out ahead of the drivers that he was around? So definitely some questions being asked as Adam has decided to go for the same move, also coming in. Quick pit stop there, so that can't have been much fuel going in. He's only got 25% fuel, and has he gone out on the hard tires, and we'll see him straight back in for the refuel on the next lap, I imagine.
Believe so. So we're getting some pit out shots right now. And yes, those are racing hard, so he's going for that one lap, as is Atom. So we do get a brief moment where we can see what the drivers are choosing to do. So they're going to be going for that soft stint at the end. And it's going to be 6 or 7 laps, isn't it? We saw Scotty make it to essentially the end of lap 7, but with absolutely dead soft tires. So can these other drivers make those softs last? If you don't lean on that front right too much, you might find yourself in a reasonably good position. So Supra now with Madsa in front of him in 10th position. And I think you're going to see that Atom is going to have a bit of a resurgence, especially on those soft tires.
And the strategy is going to play out now because the leaders are coming into the pits. Look at them pop up on the leaderboard. Both Psydog and McEwen and Diver Cable, the front three, all coming in on the same lap. Are they going to opt for the same strategy in terms of what tires they go onto now? The mediums were well worn out. They're very low on fuel at this point. Very similar fuel numbers between those front three. So they've figured out some tricks, but they've all figured out the same tricks to use here in this race. And now we get to just wait a moment in suspense and see how the strategy is going to play out. The pit crews go to work very quickly there, and there's different strategy choices. There we go, Psydog straight out, but refueling from McEwen and Dive Cable.
Wow, okay, so Matt McEwen opting for the soft tire. He wants track position as the rest of the field does come in as well. Hard tires for Simon Bishop. That's going to be a fascinating one. In comes Lewis. He doesn't refuel. Dive Cable refuels and puts a bunch of fuel in the car. Not quite as much as we saw Matt McEwen, but he's on the racing soft tires as well. So they want to do this 6 or 7 laps. I think it's going to be 6 really at the end of the day, and get himself on the hard tires for the last lap of this race. He's just fighting now with Ben Groves, who's still on the medium tires at this point, and does manage to get ahead, does Ben Groves, into turn 4, but he's loose on the exit, and that's going to probably cost him with Dive Cable able to get those soft tires hopefully engaged as soon as possible. But big news at the front of the field. Big Head Ted will be coming in soon. Simon Bishop on the 1-lap hard strategy now, opting to get a few cleaner laps maybe on those soft tires, with Matt McEwen opting now for a refuel and the racing softs. We talk about the strategy and the tapestry that unwove itself in those first 10 laps or so. Now we're seeing it stitch itself back together. How will things pan out? This is going to be great.
Oh man, that coming out in traffic can be costly. Dive Cable's got through it now, but that's the trouble that Simon Bishop might run into. He's on the hard tires, so we're expecting him to come straight back in and put the soft tires on, and that's going to put him down the field a little bit, and he might be in a little bit of traffic. That's the risk that he is taking to try and go for this strategy. But I tell you what, George, I tell you what, this is setting us up for a great final lap battle. We're going to expect to see Psydog on the softs on the last lap, hunting down McEwen and Dive Cable, who will have to put the hard tires on.
Oh, this is going to be a wild end to this race, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself ready. So Matt McEwen, of course, does pick up the lead of this race. That's expected. 3.5 seconds or just above that gap back to Gareth. And he's, of course, on the same strategy as McEwen. Behind them, Scotty is out on the racing mediums. He's the only one, I believe, that started on the racing soft tires. So we'll pick up a position for the moment. Mazda will be pitting in short order. Racing hard tires for Supra. He's going for his 1 lap in the middle as well. So is Lewis Atkinson. So you're seeing a number of these runners now put on that hard tire temporarily. Big Head Ted going for the softs at the moment, it looks like. So great news for a lot of the drivers, and certainly for us as Simon Bishop comes out of the pits. He's done his stop. He's got the soft tires on. Will he have a good... Oh, yeah, he'll have Scar ahead of him for a little bit of slipstream to help him get his tires into the right position. Gosh, this is going to be quite something. I have no idea how this is going to pan out. Don't you love GT racing?
Oh, this is all on, and this is a critical moment here for Simon Bishop. He needs to get this overtake done as quickly as he can. He's on fresh, soft tires. Scar is on the worn medium. Simon's just going to go straight for it down the inside with that extra grip. Aggressive move, and that is exactly what he needed. Straight through, didn't lose much time there, and that is going to help him. The other driver I'm keeping an eye on, Ben Groves, is now on the equal sort of stops with Simon Bishop. So he's about 10 seconds back from Simon Bishop after going on the hard tyres on the first lap. So Ben Groves still could play into this one in terms of the podium positions, but I think he's a little bit too far back to be racing for the lead. I think this is going to come down between Simon Bishop and Matthew McEwen, with those two strategies coming back together at the end of the race.
Exactly right. I don't think Dive Cable's going to have enough pace in the car. Yeah, he's still losing time to Matt McEwen, but third place, Gareth Collier is certainly on for at the moment. I think his only competitor. Oh, I'm not even sure at this point. The grid is so mixed up in terms of their strategy. We'll have to wait a few laps for it all to eventuate. Currently, it's Big Ed Ted in third place. He's on the super, I was about to say the super soft tires, but I guess they are super soft relative to the other tires. But he's on the soft tires at the moment, and we know he can be very, very quick. He's got some great consistent lap times, you can see on the right-hand side, and a good sector one, a personal best for him. All the drivers will be setting these personal bests. 5 laps to go in this race. Keep in mind, McEwen, Dive Cable, Ted will need to stop for the hard tyre for at least 1 lap. All racing tyres are required as part of the strategic tactical race in race 2 of round 1 here at the GTNZC. What an opening we've had. Now we're going to see the drivers exercise that part of the brain that shows us how their strategy is going to unfold. Simon Bishop, I don't know, Matt. What's going to happen here? What is going to happen? Do we have any insight at all?
I think they've bolted on these soft tyres and they are letting loose. Look at that. McEwen's just set the fastest lap of the race, 39.1. Plenty of pace now that he's just going for it. Let's see what he does. He goes faster, 38.9. So he knows what's in the script. He needs to just absolutely send it to try and get a gap before he has to put those hard tires on, because he's going to come out at this rate. He is going to come out ahead of Sidog, and he's going to have 1 lap to try and hang on. So he wants to open that gap as wide as he can, and he's setting the lap times to do it. Simon now on the soft tires, he's coming up to the line to set a lap time, and we'll get a bit of a comparison between what these two drivers doing. Here we go, across the line, 39.3, so he's in the ballpark. These two are absolutely flying around the circuit. The two World Tour drivers, they've been racing internationally as teammates at times, representing New Zealand, and now they are the biggest of rivals, fighting at the front of the New Zealand Championship.
Whoa, it doesn't get any better than this. And of course, as we said before, critical round 1, and also in some ways, you know, round 1 can be a little bit innocent, but it's certainly giving us the lay of the land. And at the moment, McEwen, Simon Bishop lighting up the timing towers, showing us what they're made of. Big Ed Ted, don't rule them out. We saw what he was able to do in the Yaris, and we've got a few combos coming up that I think will suit. Of course, it'll be the GR86 cars for Toyota at Montreal GP round 1 next week. So those are the cars that are essentially competing to get a real-world race drive in. Of course, thanks to Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand for providing that, and they'll get a nice test drive and essentially laps and all the engineering and assistance from the Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand team down at Hampton Downs. That's an exciting prize that they're all competing for. So yeah, I'd say that could be one maybe that suits Big Ed Ted. We'll see next week. And then the Lexus RCF GT3 cars at Red Bull Ring. That's going to be a spectacular fight. So these cars are looking more towards the fast end of the spectrum. We started off with a bang with the Yaris cars. But I tell you what, they were much more exciting than I thought they were going to be.
Oh, McEwen continues to go faster. This man is the benchmark. He's got the #1 on the side of his car for a reason. And now, as we get into the Supras, as we get into the race cars, perhaps the cars he's more familiar with, he is showing what he is capable of out in front.
A little bit of racing going on around the field as well, so let's update you of what's going on. Pure Axel and Scotty Shot going at it at the moment into turn 1. Scotty not able to make it down the inside line. They got Madsa here now, making a few waves of his own and coming in behind. So a 3-way battle now for 9th position, worth every point and you need to go after it as much as you can. Mads has got the overlap on Scotty, so into the braking zone. This will be a late braking maneuver. Yes, it is, and he'll have the inside line. Does he make a little bit of contact? No, he doesn't. Very clean racing from these three, battling for P9 at the moment. And in terms of their strategies, I believe Scotty's on his hard tire stint right now, so I'm not quite sure what's got on there. He might be looking at the hard tires to stay on them for a little bit longer. In the meantime, I believe that Big Ed Ted has picked up a penalty, Matt.
He has too. So these drivers making a few mistakes maybe now as they push on these soft tires. Big Head Tech with the 1 second penalty, he's just serving it now, so he's going to lose a bit of time. He's alone on the track there. We see it on screen. He's alone on the track, so he won't have any cars coming past. But that could cost him, well, it has cost him a lot of time. I did notice as well, actually, that Ben Groves picked up a similar 1 second penalty a few laps ago. So I was wondering if he was going to come into this fight for the podium positions. I think he might have ruled himself out of it a little bit there, making those mistakes, costing time. And I think, you know, it's been a long night of racing at this point. Fatigue might be setting in as well as they get to the grippiest tires, but they do end up with the fastest tire wear on the soft tires. So you have to adjust your driving every lap to adapt to those conditions, to adapt to the grip that you've got underneath you. And it's so easy to make those mistakes.
Yep, that's a 39.5 there from Lewis Atkinson. Barrels across the line. He's got Supra chasing him down there at the moment. Soft tires for the both of them in this part of the race. Of course, those penalties can be picked up all over the place. Turn 12 is a notorious one. Turn 2, turn 3, 4, 5 if you run wide, and then anywhere through the infield section here at Interlagos. And I think you make a very good point. This is not an easy evening of racing. There's a lot going on. By this point, you've done 2 qualifying sessions, 10 minutes apiece. That's 20 minutes of setting your fastest laps. You already had an excursion, shorter excursion, albeit, but an excursion nonetheless in race 1. You'll be feeling the pressure. You'll be hoping that you're able to get your strategy absolutely nailed for the second race of the round. And in this case, you know, they're going to be feeling that fatigue. They're going to be maybe not feeling the tires as they probably want to be, especially with the 4 times tire loss. It means that the conditions they're driving under, Matt, is changing every single second.
They absolutely are, and I tell you who won't be too happy about the conditions of their tyres right now. McEwen and Dive Cable out in front. They are in sort of the worst conditions they're going to experience. This is going to be the toughest lap for them. They need to lose the minimum amount of time. They are going to have to go slower than they were on the previous laps because of that tyre wear, and they will be coming in at the end of this lap to put those hard tyres on. But they need to just do the best they can in these conditions. They're going to lose time, but they need to minimize that loss because in behind them, Simon Bishop still got that extra bit of grip. He is still flying around the circuit and he is hunting them down.
Yeah, you can start to see the lap times on the right-hand side drop off from that purple fastest lap of the race. And even there, just slightly wider than he probably wanted to be, Matt McEwen. So the line's not maybe working out quite as he'd liked it to be. And he's going to have to pit on this lap to get onto those racing hard tires to meet the mandatory requirements of this race. So the critical moments are approaching rapidly for Matt McEwen, for Dive Cable, who is continuing to lose a fair amount of time relative to the top 2. And I say top 2 because Simon Bishop is on a charge at the moment, and those lap times, as you can see, hovering around the low 39s. That is very consistent pace and basically going up to about a second, I believe that is, Matt. A second faster right now than his competitors. There goes Matt McGood. He's in the pits. The critical moment of this race has now arrived. Where will the tapestry line itself out? Dive Cable in as well. And this is going to be the moment, ladies and gentlemen.
There it is. We've been waiting patiently, watching this one, and it's going to come back together. McEwen and Dive Cable in the pits. Simon coming around. Let's see how close he can get. Coming towards pit lane now, up next to it across the start-finish line. McEwen and Dive Cable, I don't believe they need any fuel. They're just chucking the hard tires on, trying to get out there ahead of Simon Bishop. But where is it? Look to the left here. You'll see the pit lane. There is his competitor. There is the target. 1 lap to try and chase him down.
Wow, here we go. Remember, the hard tires, of course, will be fresh, but there'll be an overspeed here for Simon Bishop. We're looking on board right now. Matt McEwen will be checking his rearview mirror, and Simon Bishop wants the slipstream into 4. It's going to really close up the gap as he peaks at 220 kilometers an hour into the braking zone. The fresher tires are going to be cold as well for McEwen, so they won't light up as much. Racing soft still looking reasonably good for Simon Bishop, but is it close enough? There's half a second gap between them. Now we add into the infield section to 6 and 7. This is where the soft tires are really going to pay for themselves, because they're going to give them so much more grip under braking, under turning, under acceleration. You can see McEwen struggling to get the car turned in at this section. Simon Bishop getting even closer. We're down to 0.3 of a second now. Can he do it? This is going to be a real photo finish at the end. It's going to come down to how Simon Bishop approaches these last few corners. Shallow entry from Matt McEwen, going to give Simon Bishop the advantage down the hill. He's right on his rear bumper now. The braking zone into 12 going to be critical one. Is he going to switch into the inside? Matt McEwen's actually becoming a roadblock here. It's all about the exit. Looks like a good exit for Simon Bishop. Does he have the power in the slipstream though? This is it. It's up the hill for the final time. 22 laps done, 14 and 15 to go. In terms of the corners, I don't think it's going to be enough. Simon Bishop is going to be right on the line with him, but that's going to be it. Matt McEwen is going to take it. Across the line we go, and what a race. Matt McEwen holds on, but only just.
McEwen takes the win, but Simon Bishop comes home in second with his soft tires absolutely screaming at the end of that one. They were well worn down, and he was pushing the maximum out of them. What a fight we just saw at the front of the race. Matt McEwen does pick up the win. Congratulations to him. The strategy worked in his favor, and his pace on the soft tires absolutely nailed it.
Wow. Gosh, and then we had a photo finish at the end there. I believe that was Scotty and another driver. I'm not quite sure who, but we'll get the full results up in a few moments' time. Battle of the Titans, I think, is what this is going to be remembered as. Race 2, round 1 at Interlagos for the GTNZC. Absolutely amazing racing there from the guys. So we'll get the results up in a few moments' time. That is what strategic racing is within Gran Turismo 7 here at GTNZC, and we are in for quite the show going forward. Matt, break it down for us.
Well, it looks good for Simon Bishop at the start, didn't it? He was strong in the lead once again, like we saw in the previous race. But Matt McEwen biding his time until they got to the pit stops. The different tire decisions playing such a big role as we suspected it might. Bishop went for the hard tires one lap in the middle of the race. McEwen saving the hards to the end, deciding he would rather be in front defending the track position. And that is what he was able to do on that final lap with Sidog hunting him down. Sidog unable to make the move. Just 2/10 as they crossed the line at the end of that race. There was nothing between our front two competitors.
Absolutely right. And yeah, the overall lap times looking very close there. Dive Cable not able to hold on though, unfortunately, to the top two in this case, but nonetheless picks up a very, very good sum of points there in third position. Ben Groves, great drive from him, a strategic drive from Ben Groves. So well done to him. In fourth position, Pure Axel comes in fifth, followed by Lewis Atkinson. Now this was getting very close between all these drivers, between 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. So Lewis Atkinson, we had Madsa in 7th position. Big Head Ted finds himself in P8, followed by Supra in P9, and a very close finish between him and Scotty Schott. So those are the two cars across the line that had a very, very close finish. Crimson and Atom finished P11 and P12 respectively, with Scar and Clan Fever rounding out the grid up to 14th. Now we are hoping that we're going to get our drivers in for the interviews in a few moments' time. Let us know if you've seen a hectic moment out on track. I certainly saw a few, but let us know in chat if you enjoyed. Tell us your favorite race moments, and maybe they'll be featured as our hectic motorsport moment of the week. Of course, all the drivers here at GTNZC competing for that real-world race drive. And I believe, Matt, we have our first interviews coming up in a few moments' time.
Absolutely right. I'm excited to chat to these drivers and get their reactions straight away after that race.
Here we go. So let's bring in our first man for this interview. Simon Bishop, welcome in to chat, mate. Great to have you in here. and well, hopefully we'll get the interview capture up properly in a few moments' time. Simon, tell us a little bit about that first race, first of all, the Yaris's. Are you a fan?
More than I thought that I would be. How's my volume? Is it all right?
It's excellent, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just a roadblock for everyone, but I'll take that. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my luck when I got the lead. And then I was just like, well, I guess I'll roll around here until someone flies past me, and then they never did. So I managed to get them to all fight each other behind me, which bought me a wee bit of time, but I was just not quite as fast. And they, because of the freight train effect, it was just catching me every lap. And then, yeah, and then Lewis did me such a favour on the last lap by getting past McEwen. And then I was just like, I just got to block the last corner, and away we go.
I mean, it was an epic nearly six-way fight, actually, through that first race. And now let's move on to the second race, of course. Didn't quite go your way. The decision to go for the hards initially. Tell us a little bit about the thinking.
It was the right strategy. I just put too much fuel on. If you take a second off my time there, but I was using way less fuel in the first stint, and I didn't want to then go and do my soft run and run out of fuel. So I'm kind of happy with that. But then I saw McEwen, he had so much pace on those first couple of laps, and I was like, well, I'm done for. And then he kind of came back to me. I think he burned his stuff off a little bit before I got to him, but it was a good finish. I just didn't quite have the grip on that last lap to be able to get alongside him. I had a run going down the hill, but it's just too difficult to pass into that last corner. And then that was that. But I gave him a run for his money. That's all I reckon I could ask for.
Absolutely right. I mean, yeah, that braking zone into turn 12, you approached him so quickly, and he's going to be on the brakes because he's on the hard tires, so he's inevitably going to be braking a little bit sooner just to make sure he actually makes the corner at all. Did seem that caught you out just a little bit. Well, maybe not caught you out, but certainly blockaded you a little bit into turn 12, and then at that point, the run up to the finish line. It could have been very, very close. You had a little look down the inside into turn 12. Did you think about the send?
Yeah, but I wasn't close enough to have a proper go, and he knew what to do. But it was a good race, I think. Yeah, he was kind of all over me in the first stint, but then I was just trying to save my tyres a wee bit, and we ended up pulling away from Gareth a little bit, which was good. And then, yeah, when I knew that he was going to go softs in that middle stint, so I figured that my best chance was probably just to do something different. And it almost paid off.
Almost paid off indeed. And yeah, congratulations on the race results. It's a good way to open your GTNZC campaign. Of course, round 2 in a week's time, heading to Montreal and Red Bull Ring. Looking forward to it. Think you maybe have the advantage on those tracks?
Short answer, no. But don't like the Red Bull Ring, but we'll see how we go. I reckon I'm points leader after tonight, don't I, George?
That's a good question, actually. I don't have my calculator on me.
Confirm. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
McEwen coming third in the first race, and then second in the second race was not enough to top your first and second.
Fantastic.
I'll take that. I'll frame it, I reckon.
Yeah. I have not the bravery nor the computational skills to do math while live on stream. I've learnt my lesson many, many times. But there we go, Simon. Congratulations. You're the points leader through round 1. We'll look forward to seeing what you can do in round 2, mate.
Thank you kindly. Always a pleasure, George and Matt.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Bishop, championship leader as it stands, and a good series of results there, Matt, initially.
Yeah, it was outstanding, wasn't it? To be in the lead. He looked so comfortable in the lead as well, which was the critical part of it, wasn't it? That first race, he just was, made the most of the fact that McEwen made that mistake to let him into the lead, and he never looked back from there, took the win. And then that second race, McEwen was shaping up to make the move, but it never really looked like it was on. And Simon looked strong in front. It was only through the strategy. And interesting that he mentioned the fuel situation there was what cost him. So it was only through the strategy that McEwen was able to get back through.
Indeed. I believe we've got another interview lined up here. We're going to bring in Matthew McEwen. So, Matthew, welcome in. We've got 2 Matts in the commentary box now, which is trouble. You know it. First of all, congratulations on that race 2 win, mate. That was an epic drive. Let's roll the clock back to race 1. The Yaris's, you were caught in a 5-way battle. Lewis centered on you, and there was a mistake through Death Chicane. Maybe not the most excited about your performance for that race.
Yeah, I just didn't have the racecraft. I should have been just driving away after lap one, and well, I was until I decided that I wanted to drive into a wall, and so obviously a suboptimal strategy there, and ended up really costing me dearly, to nobody's surprise. And I did hear a bit about what Simon said about how he couldn't believe his luck when he ended up in the front, and well, yeah, I couldn't believe myself when I did that, and so I'm fully on board with his statement there.
Yeah, fair enough. And of course, that third place finish is going to affect it a little bit in the points. But race two, absolutely fantastic work there. I mean, it was not a photo finish, but 0.198 was there between you and Simon. And from what we can tell, of maybe a little bit of a refueling issue from Simon Bishop gave you that run. What were you thinking as you came out of the pits on that hard tyre?
Well, I was just thinking, what's the gap? 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 And well, the gap was, well, shockingly as as much as I want to say shockingly, it wasn't really anything shocking. It was about what I expected, which is he's right on me, so I just got to fight for my life on this last lap, and well. The race was always about track position. We established over the first 14 laps that it's not possible to really get past unless something special happens. So I figured that logically I have to go on the softs, go do something different, because I knew that Simon was likely to do his hards, and just try to do something different. So I end up in front, and it worked out.
Yeah, well, Interlagos, often the track position is massive, and turn 12 is an advantage essentially to the driver in front. Was there a little bit of tactics in how you approach that, or was it simply a matter of trying to get those hards around that final corner?
Yeah, it was a bit of just like praying that the car was going to turn, but not turn too much, do a bit of a right turn into a left-hander kind of thing. So thankfully that didn't happen. I did have to go slightly defensive in the last couple of corners, but, it was never really going to, turn into anything unless some big dive bomb happened, which is, thankfully something that I can say because I can trust Simon to, not just kill me, which is, that's a good thing.
Yes, this is good to be able to trust the drivers around you. And we have seen a very high standard of driving within the GTNZC so far, which is excellent, bodes well for the next rounds. And speaking of the next rounds, Montreal and Red Bull Ring. Simon said he's not a fan of Red Bull Ring. Are you a fan of both, none, or one?
Oh, well, I'm cursed by Montreal, so we'll see how that goes. But Red Bull Ring is kind of my place. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't actually think I like the track, but I'm good at it apparently because I keep doing all right at races. So I'll take that.
Fantastic, Matt. What's our? Sorry, this is the other Matt, and this is the problem with having two Matts in the commentary box. But my co-commentator, Matt, what's our point calculation on this so far? Where is Matt sitting? I'm assuming in second at the moment.
Yeah, so Matt will be second after the first round, just behind Simon Bishop at the top there. And then There was a mix-up for P3. So, they were the consistent drivers across the two races, and a few of the drivers had one good race and one a few places back.
Excellent. Well
I'll tell you what. Well, I can't hear him, so I don't know if that's, if everyone can't hear him, but I can't. And whatever he said, if he said something, I know I'm in second. That should be how it is, right?
Well, we shall see. It's only round one at the end of the day, Matt. But congratulations on the race results. Yeah, congratulations on the race results today, mate. Great driving out there. We really look forward to seeing what's going to happen next week.
Me too.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt McEwen, fantastic work by him today, and second overall in the championship. Matt.
Well, hopefully he's the only one who can't hear me. Hopefully everyone else has been hearing me as we go around. But a funny little mix-up there, and it's great to hear from the drivers that, the mindset as they approach some of these corners and these critical moments, that they are, McEwen was just thinking about what's the gap? He was saying, what's the gap? What's the gap? What's the gap? So they're really focused on each other, and I guess a little bit of stress maybe playing into it as well as they try and fight for this win.
Exactly. I think everyone's just got to find their way through that first round, see where the lay of the land is, and then adjust their strategy to account for it. Well, that is round 1 done. It is the 13th of July, and race 1, race 2 provided us a glimpse of what is to come here at the GT New Zealand Championship. In terms of round 2, let's take a quick peek at what's ahead of us. On the 20th of July, we're going to go to the Montreal GP in the Toyota GR86 2021 cars for a 22-lap race with a bit of a fuel limit as well. And then in race 2, we're going to be taking the Lexus RCF GT3 cars on a 28-lap open strategy race with high tire wear and high fuel wear. Exciting times ahead, so make sure you're liking and subscribing the channel here at NZ Sim Racing TV, so you stay tuned, get those subscription notifications on so you get all the races coming your way. In terms of that overall prize, and another massive thanks to Toyota GAZOO Racing New Zealand for presenting the first place prize in this championship, a real world drive where they will get that real world driving experience. It is worth every bit of effort that they put into this championship. The hectic race moment will, I guess, probably announce what that was, but let us know in chat, what was your hectic race moment of the evening with the opening round 1 of the GTNZC. We will get you updated championship standings over on the socials. Make sure you go and check out NZ Sim Racing Collective on Facebook, the NZ Sim Racing Hub on Facebook. Join the Discord and get updates on all the racings happening in the sim world around New Zealand. Big thanks to our other participants within the GTNZC, TrackSpotTV for the broadcasting and commentary and media and graphics, and a massive thanks, of course, to Hooncorp for their administration work as well, putting on this series. Big thanks to those who will be coming up in the credits a little bit later on too. My name's been George Kirk, and we're going to leave it there. We've been joined, of course, in the commentary box by Matthew Smith. On behalf of everyone here, it's been a pleasure bringing you tonight's broadcast and the opening of the GTNZC here for 2026. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll see you then.